Hi, I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from yourblackworld.com, and I wanted to ask this really important question that really popped into my brain. And the question is very simple. Have black people walked away from education? If so, then why? And what are some of the factors? And so to address this issue further, I brought in a YBW contributor, Dr. Warkia Duncan. She is an EDD in curriculum and instruction, or that's her specialty. She has been a teacher at the 8th grade level for the last 13 years, so she knows our kids very well. She cares about our kids very much, and I wanted to lean on her expertise to really talk about this important issue. First, I'd like to ask Dr. Duncan, how are you today?
I am doing really well, really excited to have this conversation. It's extremely important, especially right now.
Yeah, well, I'm very excited to have the conversation with you, and I really appreciate your time. And so to save your time, I'm going to cut to the chase. Do you think that black people as a collective are on average, that we've kind of culturally walked away from education maybe over the last 15 to 20 years? And what have you observed as an educator yourself?
Well, I wouldn't say generally. Thankfully, we have more people that are interested in education than are not. But what I've been witnessing is it's not so much a turn away from education as it is a change in parenting in general. I see that there are parents who are way more interested in friending their children instead of really guiding them in the way that they're supposed to go. So if that means that a child complains about the amount of homework that they get, instead of the parent explaining, this is necessary in order for you to reach any type of success, they side with the child and they'll agree that there's too much homework. And I think that that's more of a problem. I think where it looks like there's a turn away from education is that there are parents that seem to be, especially where I'm teaching in an urban setting, they are so focused on getting that so-called American dream, how much of a nightmare it may have become, but they so much want that dream that their focus is on monetary success. And they're forgetting, again, that the way to sustain any type of success, whether monetary or otherwise, is through education. So they have these 1 or 2 jobs. Most times, sometimes it's 2 or 3 jobs. So when they should be participating in their child's education, whether it's a parent-teacher meeting, calling back a parent, writing, visiting, they're working. And it's not that they may not want to participate, but their focus or their priorities have become so skewed that maintaining whatever brand name they can purchase or maintaining whatever lifestyle they've become accustomed to has become more important than ensuring that their legacy is one of education and one of sustained success.
That's very interesting. I think that's a very good answer, and I think that really points to one of the things that many of us are noticing is that the style of parenting has really modified itself over time. You have a lot of children being raised in environments where it doesn't seem that education is a top priority, or that it even can be sometimes based on the other things that have become prioritized. Even little things like going into a child's home and seeing that there is no place to even do homework. I think,
or no books, no library in their house. Like it's puzzling to see how many children do not have any types of books unless they're school books that they brought from school in the home. That's not something I was accustomed to. My mom is not from this country, and so I don't know whether that was just how she was raised, but there was a library in our home, and we've made sure that the same is the case in our house.
Interesting. Yeah, and I think also when you really look at the effects of hip hop culture, which I think is pretty pervasive among young kids, one of the things I've noticed when I've really analyzed what some of the more popular rappers are telling the kids every day, they're pretty much giving them recipes to destroy their lives. They're really not teaching them anything that is going to help them succeed. You're encouraged to be ignorant. You're encouraged to get involved in drugs and alcohol. You're encouraged to think that life is nothing but a big party. You're encouraged to engage in irresponsible sexual behavior. You're also encouraged to waste your money, and not to mention all the other issues like disrespecting women and all this other stuff. And so I think that what's been really interesting to me is that even when you see the kids get to the college level, I get your kids when they get 18 and they come to college, and I look at the black kids and I say, why is everybody, trying to do? There's a song where the chorus is party, 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 let's all get wasted. And I'm like, why is it that every weekend I'm seeing everybody trying to go get wasted or trying to go to the parties, and nobody even mentions the idea of going to the library on the weekend, almost like it's a crime to go to the library on the weekend. And I tell them flat out, I say, look, the future leaders of America are not the ones who are popping bottles at the party. They're the ones who are in the library, who are studying and trying to get ahead. So let me ask you this. When you see, let's talk to the parents out here that say, you know what, I want something better for my child. I want, my child is 10 years old, 5 years old, 12 years old, whatever. If you want something different for your child, what do you think are some simple things that the parent can do that can help elevate their child and prepare them for educational success?
I think there are so many free things that you can do. One, it doesn't cost you that much to wake up maybe 15 minutes earlier than you normally would. And if you're fixing breakfast for your child, like, watch the news with your child. Discuss what is going on in the world outside of their block. That's one. Two, the libraries are still free. Using the internet in the libraries are free. The children or the parent can go to khanacademy.org, and there are ways for them to learn so many different topics, again, for free. Walking through the park and just having a discussion on what the child is going through is so, it can't be overstated just how important it is having simple conversations with your child. If you have a newspaper around, reading it with your child. Like, a child is never too old to have a read aloud with a parent. It doesn't matter if they are 8 or if they are 13. The parent being there and just talking and reading with their child, or the child seeing their parent read, that's such an important thing. And I don't think many people realize that. And it doesn't have to be a novel. We don't have to read Shakespeare. We don't have to read all these large books, but just letting your child see that you are interested in education. Whether you dropped out in 6th grade or you never went to high school, that doesn't matter. They need to see, though, that it is so important to you that they further their education. So, I mean, wake up early, go to bed a little later, like, decide you're not going out tonight, and talk to your child.
Very interesting, very interesting. Well, I agree. And what I say also to the parents and to the young people, and when I talk about young people, really we're all young people, in that we all have a future. We all have, a way to elevate our game. And I say to everybody who's listening, we got to walk away from this culture that is anti-intellectual, anti-education. There are people within our community who are doing all the right things and who believe in education, but then there are people who are not doing the right things, and sometimes unfortunately the ignorance wins the battle. And what I mean by that is
they have the loudest mics.
Right.
The loudest mics for whatever reason.
Exactly. And sometimes you'll have a kid who wants to be a leader, who wants to excel, who wants to push hard the way we see, the immigrants from other countries do when they get here from Asia and other places. They want to do that. They want to be fanatical about their studying, and they hear somebody around them say, "Oh man, what are you doing, dude? You already studied 2 hours yesterday. Like, why are you studying again today?" Like, oh, you're a nerd, or they make fun of them for doing that. And what I encourage them to do is let your light shine. Don't be afraid to be just every bit as bold about your ambition as the ignorant person is about getting a pound of marijuana that night or for the party. Right. Be ambitious and be proud of who you are, and don't necessarily put down other people. You don't have to attack them, but you can come back and say, I want to be somebody, I am somebody, and I'm going to go work hard to become an even bigger somebody than I am right now. So be a leader, don't be a follower. I think that's incredibly important. I had to go through that when I was in college, and I remember I was invited to pledge I was invited to pledge every fraternity, and I don't think it was because they liked me that much. I think it was because my GPA was high and they needed somebody to boost their GPA. But I remember being around some guys who were into some of the most ignorant stuff I'd ever seen, and I remember I had to stand up to them and say, that's not me. That's not what a black man is supposed to be. And I almost got my butt kicked over that. Like, this guy was going to beat me down because I pretty much told him, you're not a black man. This ignorant stuff you're doing, drinking all night, sleeping with all these women, running around acting like a fool. That's not what a black man is supposed to be. So I think that these messages of manhood and womanhood have to be shared with our children, and you have to share them with somebody else's child in case they don't have a parent giving them that message, because we've got to elevate out of the ignorance. I think that's very important. So thank you so much, Warkia. I really appreciate all of your time.
Thank you.
And everybody,
I appreciate it. And actually, one quick thing I'd like to say. While I do realize that parents have a lot to do with this, I think that those who are of voting age need to do a better job in whom we're voting for. Because when we start the redistricting, we also start to affect who populates our schools. And when we allow schools to be open that seem to continually segregate certain children so that they have it's almost like they have no choice as to what their future will be because they are continuing to, be warehoused with people who may not have that same type of mentality that they're trying to go for. Like, for one thing, what I would love to see is if public schools, whether they're public charter schools or traditional public schools, if we would get out of this strict districting type admission so that we would really see a more diverse community within the schools and see how that affects the performance of all children. Because if you've had the silver spoon consistently handed to you, it's not that hard to continue success. But if all of a sudden you really have to challenge yourself and see how you are with people that don't look like you, perhaps we'll see a difference, and perhaps we'll see it's not as easy for anybody. And we're just being highlighted because, hey, that's how we've been since we were brought on the boats.
Well, I love it. I love it. I think that it's this is a very important message, and you are a great messenger. And I'm going to bring you back in because I think that we've got a lot to talk about when it comes to those of us who want to moving forward, and we have to accept the fact that not everybody's going to go with us. We're not going to we're not going to save the whole black community. I mean, honestly, that's hard to do. But we can give everybody the options and the tools necessary to save themselves and their own families if that's what they choose to do. So that's what we're here for, Your Black World. And I want to say thank you so much for your time, Dr. Duncan. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. And thank you all for checking us out at yourblackworld.com. And until we meet again, please stay strong, be blessed, and be educated. We are gone. Peace.